Hi everybody, Lori here from Unique in the Creek. Today we're going to do a sunflower slash mum fall flower. Basically, this is a basic flower, and depending what color mesh or what kind of center you put into it, it can be any kind of flower you want. This is just the basic pattern. There are many petal folds out there that are a little bit more advanced. This is going to be the easiest petal that I can show you on how to make a mum flower or a sunflower. So obviously if it's a sunflower, you're going to use yellow mesh. If it's a mum, you might want to use burgundy or gold or something in the darker tones in the fall. I'm going to use two different meshes together. I have this beautiful, it's a poly burlap with a black metallic stripe in it. Poly burlap is one of my favorite meshes to use. I'm not sure why, it's just a preference. And I'm also going to be using some of this just black wide foil deco mesh. Both are 10 inches long. Okay, and this is the deco mesh. So it's deco poly mesh, and it's pretty thick. It's good quality. And like I said, it does have like a wider foil. It's a new mesh that has come out this year. Usually it's thinner foil, but this is a good quality. And I'm going to mix it up with this burlap with a black stripe in it. So we're going to do 2 colors of petals today. Now, when you're making your flower, like I said, you can use any colors you want. For whatever project you're doing. So if it's in the fall, you probably want to use fall colors and mix it up with some plaids or whatever. This is the burlap, so it is called a burlap mesh, and it's like a poly jute. It's got jute lines running through it. Now this mesh, both of them, I did heat seal, and heat sealing means cutting it with a heating tool or with a bag sealer. I used a bag sealer to cut mine. It's very easy. We have a couple of tutorials on how to do it on our YouTube channel. What it does is it cuts it and seals it. So the ends don't fray and unravel and stuff like that. It just makes a nicer flower when you don't have strings hanging all over the place. So the normal burlap is very easy to cut. And well, it cuts and melts at the same time. So you put your mesh into the bag sealer, press it down, hold it for a few seconds, it clicks, and then you can pull this out. And it usually pulls out and cuts it at the same time. You just have to play around. I do 2 times, because like I said, it's only like a few seconds each pulse, and it pretty much cuts and melts at the same time. Now the poly jute, I also heat sealed. But when you heat seal poly jute or a fabric mesh or anything like that, you will have to still cut through the mesh. Now what it will do is when you heat seal it, it will make a line. It will not cut through the burlap strings in the mesh. It will melt all the plastic that's in between, that's weaved in between the jute, but it will not cut the actual jute strings. So you will get a line, and it's not going to cut it. So when I get that line, I just snip up that line that was melted and just cut the jute pieces. Okay, there's a lot of people message me that their bag sealer is not working because it's not cutting through, and sure enough, that's usually what the problem is. There's some kind of material in it. The bag sealer will only melt plastic. So, but it does work on this really well too, because it is the plastic that frays. It's not the jute. So it works well, as well as fabric mesh. Even though fabric mesh is consistently more fabric, there is plastic still in there. So you can seal it and then cut up with scissors or your rotary cutter or whatever. Okay. Now another thing I wanted to show you guys is on our website, you can print out a blank template of your flower, of your Unique in the Creek boards. Okay, this one, here's a blank one. Now, I use these templates quite a bit when I'm actually planning out something new, or just have something in my head, and when I'm making flowers. It's really easy to then count how many pieces you will need for your project, as well as kind of give you an idea of how your project's going to look and how you want it to look. So this is actually my second one I written down, because when I first was writing it down in my head, I could picture it and it didn't look proper. So, oh shoot, I didn't turn this down. So, sorry, I'm running the Mevo by myself here. Okay, so for this particular flower, I am going to show you the petals, how I'm going to do it. And I'm actually going to show you 2 different styles of centers that you can make for your flower. I'm going to show you a center you can make right on the board. So we'll be using these 4 inside holes here, which are numbered circumference number 5. I'm going to show you how to make a center right on the board. And then I'm also going to show you how to make a center. Now I did a half a one. This is a coconut bra or bikini top from Dollar Tree. People have been scooping them up like crazy because they make great faces for the angels and everything. Well, they also make great centers for your flower. They're just hard plastic. Okay, and I just cut the ropes off, and that's what they look like. That's the thing at the Dollar Tree. So they're in where the summer section is, with, you know, the hula skirts and all that stuff. Anyways, here it is cut off, and it actually has holes on the sides already that you can use to zip tie your center to the board if you want. This particular center, I started off with gluing Pom-Poms. These are 1-inch Pom-Poms. Okay, and I got these at Hobby Lobby. You can get them at any craft store. These particular ones I liked. They were really fun looking. So they're Pom-Poms, but they got little metallic spiky things coming out. And I thought that would make such an interesting center. So basically all you have to do is glue your Pom-Poms onto your coconut shell bra. And it makes a great, great center. So I'll finish that at the end of the flower. And I have done a few of them. I'm sure you've seen the brown pom-pom ones I've done. This one's just a little funner. It has all different colors too, but I'm doing black, hence the black flower that I'm going to be doing. So this is pretty much going to be like an everyday flower, but more on the fall side. And then the other center I'm going to teach you right on the board is with burlap. Now you can use 6-inch burlap. You could even use Olifun material. You can use 6-inch deco mesh. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. You can also use deco tubing. I've done that on a few tutorials as well. So that's what we're got planned for the end of the flower. So on my sheet here, I've indicated black, tan, and burlap. So this is quite an easy pattern because I'm going to do all the outside row. So if you look at your paper and look at your board, you got numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, those are your circumferences, and they're pretty much easy to use if you're like teaching a workshop or teaching somebody. You can just tell them what circumference to go on, and it corresponds with your pattern as well. So these light blue holes up here at the top, they're indented in. We call those hanging holes, and they're a little bit chamfered in. And what you can do is you can take a zip tie and you go up through the back and down through the other hole and zip it till you hear a couple zips. You hear that noise, and then you can make this as big or small as you want. I use zip ties all the time for my hanging, only because I have them handy all the time, but you can use twine, ribbon, anything you want to use for a hanger for your wreath. So I'm just going to use zip ties because that I always have. Zip tie's handy. Now the zip ties I do use are 18 pound. Now 18 pound is the size or the width of the zip tie, not the actual length, it's the width. It's a much smaller head than a 40-pound zip tie. Let me see if I have one. Oh, yeah, I do. So here's it's a black one, but just so you can see the difference. So this is a 40-pound, and this is an 18-pound, and you can see the difference in the heads. We like to use the little 18-pound ones, A, because they're much cheaper, and B, when you pull, you get a snugger fit with your petal in there than you would with something really big like this. Okay. Now, obviously, this is really long. This must be Dave's, but the length, I usually use in between 6 and 8 inch lengths. Okay. That means the length of the zip tie. People do use 4 inch. I don't use 4 inch because it just makes a really small working area, and I can't be bothered with the struggle. So it doesn't matter how long, 6 to 8 inches, you're going to end up cutting the tails of your zip tie off anyways. So we are going to be using those. Also get yourself a little empty bucket or a bowl or something that you can use to keep your area tidy, that you can throw your garbage in like that, and you'll have a lot of zip tie tails that will be floating around your tables. Instead of having them all over the place, just toss them into your little bucket there. Okay, so I'm doing on row 1 I'm doing 8 black. Okay, row 2 I have 16 tan, which I just called this one tan. Okay, on row 3 I'm doing another 8 black. Row 4 I'm doing another 8 tan, and row 5 is where I'm going to be doing my center. So we're going to leave row 5 with no zip ties. Now the outside row of row 1 is done just a little bit differently than row 2, 3, and 4. So I'm just going to skip row 1 for 1 second. There goes my beautiful clock. I'm going to skip row 1 for 1 second because I want to show you guys how to preload your zip ties for row 2, 3, and 4. Now when you're using a zip tie, the zip tie does have a flat head and a more slanted side of the head. Okay, we want to use the flat head. The tail of the zip tie goes always through the flat edge of the zip tie, and you'll hear a zipping sound, and when you pull it, it is not going to let go. Okay, so that is the correct way to use your zip tie. Yay! Now if you try and do it backwards, so there's my flat side, if you try and do it backwards, which sometimes I do because I don't really look up when I'm wreathing from my chair, you can pull it, there's no noise, and it just slides back and forth. If your zip tie is doing that, 9 times out of 10, it is wrong. It's gone in the wrong way. So you're going to take your tail through the flat side, and you want to hear zip. Okay? So that's your little lesson on zip ties. Now what we're going to do, we're going to preload this board in rows 2, 3, and 4. And what that means is you take a zip tie, and each of these are a set of holes. So you'll see a little line going between these 2 sets of holes here. That makes them paired together. And then these ones are paired, and these ones are paired. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a zip tie, you're going to go down one hole, and go up the other, come up the other, and you're going to zip it. Just a few clicks. So this is what you want. You want your zip tie open just like that. Okay, I will do that again. So we're going down one hole, up the other, and zip. And we'll do row 4. So go down, and if you make sure the flat side of your zip tie is facing towards the center, you'll always get your zip tie right. Okay, so I've preloaded 1 on row 2, 1 on row 3, and 1 on row 4. So now what you're going to want to do is preload all of these. Now I have one that's already pre-done, but I'll just do a couple more just so you get the gist. Now I usually get my husband to do this for me. While I'm cutting mesh, he's preloading the boards, or I'll do a whole bunch of boards while I'm watching TV on my lap and just preload them so they're ready to go for whatever I want to make. Because a lot of the flowers are made with this method. Okay, so you're just going to preload rows 2, 3, and 4. 5 is going to be the center, and row 1 we do just a little bit different than we do the other rows. Okay, so once you have all that preloaded, your board will look like this, with a whole bunch of zip ties all over the place. Now, to keep your bearings, and you always remember the top is wherever your hanging hole is. So if you do use a zip tie, sometimes you can get a little confused where your top is because it's just another zip tie. What you can do is somehow flag it, even putting one of these piece of zip tie in the or even marking the back, or putting like a pipe cleaner. Now you can use pipe cleaners for your hanging holes, but even if you just put a piece of pipe cleaner in and twist it, it's just an indicator of where, to remind you where the top of your board is. So if you see what I did here, I'm going to take that pipe cleaner out afterwards, but I don't have to keep looking around to see where the top of my board is. All I have to do is look for this pipe cleaner sticking up, and I will know. Okay, this is really important when you're doing a character board, because if you're putting a sign on the center of your board and you put the face going that way, but meanwhile that's the top, then you're in a little bit predicament. Now, it's not a big deal. If your face is facing this way, you can just use one of these and zip a zip tie through just like so, and you make yourself a hanger. Just if you do screw up and not put your things towards the top. So it's not a big deal, and it's a learning thing. So I found just putting a little, like I said, a little indicator always shows me where my top is. Okay, so we are going to start with the outside of the board, which is number 1, and it has no zip ties in it. It has no zip ties in it because we're going to put the zip tie in a little bit different than we did here. So you're going to take your zip tie, and I like to stick it through the back of the board to the front and just leave the head part on your table. So it's almost an L shape. See if you can see that without, there we go. So you see it's almost like an L shape. So if you leave your zip tie like that, this outer row, I'm going to be doing black. Now I've pre-cut these. These are 10 by 10. And like I said, I did heat seal them. Okay, so this is a 10 by 10 square. And what you're going to do is it does curl on itself. And like I had done on the rows, sometimes you want to curl up and sometimes you want to curl down depending on what you're doing. For today's project, we want the curl downwards. So it's facing down towards my table. Okay, you're going to turn it into a diamond shape, and you're going to scrunch from this corner to this corner. And you're going to do almost like an accordion. So you take your two thumb and forefinger, and you're going to pinch and pinch and pinch, pinch, all the way up to the other corner. And if I open this up, you can see that there's almost like accordion-like formation going on here. And if you do corner to corner, each of your petals, when you turn it sideways, each of your petals should be even shape. Okay, so this is what you have. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to flip it upwards. And I just kind of hold them down, and I can kind of guess to make sure that each petal is the same size. And they don't have to be perfect, but a guesstimate is really nice to make the whole flower even. Okay, now I'm going to take this, so I pinched it between my 3 fingers here, and there's that rounded part. So I flipped it up, pinched it, and that is the middle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take, there's a hole kind of between my finger and the deco mesh. I'm going to put this zip tie head through it, and I'm going to zip this up right down the middle. Now you can fix it before you go really tight. You can make sure it's in the middle, and it's pretty easy. So once you've flipped it and you got your center, you put it on your zip tie, pull it tight. I like to use needle nose pliers, and I have my little tile nippers. You can also get these at the jewelry section. They're great for cutting zip ties because you can get right to the head, and they're not heavy or anything. Okay, that's our first petal. So we're going to go and do, again, the same thing at the next hole on number 1. So we're doing 8 black of these all the way around. So curl down towards your table, put it in the diamond and corner. So you pinch, 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 all the way up to the opposite corner, and you can flip it up. Now, if you need to save mesh, to make sure you only use 1 roll, you can cut these at 9 by 10. That 1 inch really does make a difference in the end. If you need an extra 1 or 2 pieces, that extra inch does make a difference. So I know I have a lot of black and a lot of this color, so I just cut mine 10 by 10. However, if I had only had 1 roll of black, perhaps I might have did 9 by 10 just to make sure I'd have enough. So I'm gonna scrunch it and pinch it with your 3 fingers there. I got my middle finger in there, or my pointer, and I'm putting it right onto the board where it's folded, and I'm zipping it up. Now this is normally where people, when you do actual yellow sunflowers, is where people put the green leaves. That is totally up to you. It's your project. You do whatever you want. I just wanted to outline it in black. This is going to be more of an elegant fall wreath. Okay, so corner to corner, just scrunching. And your whole wreath is done like this. There's no other petals. The only thing that's different is what we're going to do to the center. And like I said, this is the easiest sunflower to do. There is quite a few different petals out there that people have done with for sunflowers, and they're absolutely gorgeous, and they're just a little more technical. So for this tutorial, I thought I would just start out with the easier one, because it actually is a very beautiful flower, considering, you know, it's more on the easy scale of our wreaths that we do. Now this large board doesn't just make flowers. Well, most of it's used for our flowers, but you can make normal wreaths on it. You can do like the big Texas size wreaths on it. You can, they're great for any kind of wreath attachments. So if you have like a snowman or some kind of wreath attachment, you can, you know, I did a flamingo. I put the flamingo's head in there, and then the 2 legs just came down here, because everything is proportionate. You can really, it takes the guess out of, you know, making your wreath. So you can actually even plot out where to make it, even on your template. When you're doing your template, you can mark on your paper of like where you're going to put the legs and stuff like that. And of course you can put signs on it and big bows and tails and everything else, but It is used for a lot of things other than just flowers, but if you've ever made a sunflower, using the other way, like a wire one, they are nice too. They're a lot more work, and I find they're not as big. I like my flower big on my door, so if I'm going to make something, I want to make it big. And these are a little bit bigger. Now you can do the same thing on our small board, but I like the big board for when I'm making something for myself on my door. And it's the boards are cheaper to ship as well, only because they're flatter, so they're not as high as the wireframe ones. So there's just a few things. But I think if you've done a sunflower before and you've never used our board, you should give it a try. And just to see, you know, it may be a few dollars more expensive than a regular wreath frame, but the supplies that you need and the time that you use will make up that few dollar difference. Like, seriously. I have people all the time saying they'll never go back to a wireframe, especially with the flowers. Okay, we have 2 more to go on the outside. Now you don't have to use these outside depending on how big you want your flower. Like I said, I like mine big, and I like to be able to see it when I'm pulling up to my door at home. You don't have to do these outside holes if you don't want. If you want a smaller flower and you don't have a small board, just skip section 1 and just start on section 2, 3, and 4. And that'll give you a smaller flower. But I like it big. So this is, you can see, it's just kind of framing the outside. Now Deco Mesh has a mind of its own, and it does like to curl up and do whatever it likes. So I fix that at the end by putting books around the outside. And I leave it like that overnight, so when I come back to it, all the petals are laying flat, so they'll just be all nicely flat on the door. Okay, and this is our last one. And then the rest will go really fast. When you preload your board, it does go a lot faster. You could preload this one, but if you preload it from the hole to the outside, you're having to feed your mesh through your preloaded zip tie, and I just find it frays a little more. The less you touch Deco Mesh, the better. It doesn't like to be touched. Now, if you're looking for the template can be found on our website under, I believe you can find it under the Shop Now. So this actual template right here is under the large board. But there's also a section that is called Templates, Printable Templates on the left-hand side. If you go into printable templates, they're in there. So we have one for the large board, the small board, the horse board, the tree board, and I am working on one for the cross board. Okay, so there is our outside petals done. Now I'm going to be doing 16 of these poly jute petals, and I'm going to do them the same. The only thing that's going to be different is the way I put them in the zip tie. Okay, I'm just going to slide this over a bit. Okay, again, it's got a curl. We're going to work it with the curl down. Okay, turn it to the side so we have that diamond shape, and again, we're going to scrunch from corner to corner. And I'd like to flip it up. You get in a habit. If you do the same thing over and over, you get in a habit, and it's just second nature. Some people flip it down this way. It's totally how you start your habit, and mine is flipping up all the time. Okay, so now I've got it pretty much even, I think. Now I'm going to take this. Now, before we would stick the zip tie through this folded part, now we're just going to put this folded part right in the zip tie. Okay, you're only going to put it in about an inch and zip that up. This is where you want to have it nice and tight. So I put it with my needle nose pliers. Now, if you want to make sure that this petal will not come out, you can put a little bit of hot glue on each petal to make sure it's going to not slide out. Now, when you're using the 18-pound zip ties, they stay in there pretty good. Like, that's in there pretty good. You can just take a little bit of glue and just go right across. Just like that. And it just gives it a little bit more secure security for your petal. Okay, and here we go again. So from corner to corner, I flip it up. Just kind of guess. And then you're going to stick it in. Now you want to make sure your petals are nicely folded going back before you commit to when you zip it up, because you want them to curl backwards so it hits the door, so it's nicely, you know, around the door. Okay, zip this up and then cut it. So our whole 3, 4, or 2, 3, and 4 are going to be done like this. Like I said, this row I'm doing right now is all going to be tan, and then I'm going to move it to black and then tan again. Now, should you want to sit with and pre-make your petals, you can do that as well. So if you get a little mat or a piece of wood, I usually use my little small pink cutting board on my lap. After I've cut all my mesh, I have it in a pile and I clip them with the clothespins. Okay, and you can pre-make all your petals, especially if you've heat sealed them, by using these little rubber elastic bands that you get at the Dollar Tree, and they are clear colored, so you don't even see them. So you can dump a few out, and you could sit and watch TV and pre-make petals, and I just put them in a grocery bag when I'm done. So I fold it up. I'll take my little elastic and I'll go around twice, and now I have a petal. Just like that. Okay, something yellow on it. So, and I'll do that, a bunch of those on my lap, and just like I said, put them in a box or put them in a grocery bag. And then when you're got them all pre-made and you're ready to make your wreath, you just kind of go and stick them all in to the zip tie. I'll do a few of them this way, and then I'll go back to the other way. So scrunch corner to corner, flip it up. Now it's nice when you have the edge going downwards, so you may just have to move it around. Okay, grab it and then take your little elastic and go around twice. Now these elastics will over time break down, which is not a big deal because you're just using them so that you can save some time. And they're not really securing anything. So now you take your petal that you've already pre-made and just stick it in and zip it up. So you can zip it up right where you put your elastic. So as you can see, you can really go pretty fast once you got your stuff all cut and your petals all done. Now I cut my zip ties as I go. You don't have to. You can do the whole row and then go around and cut them all. Again, it's totally your preference. I've been using these boards for so long, I have terrible bad habits that I hope I don't share with everybody. This is actually a brown in here. I thought it was black. I'm going colorblind. Black, brown, whatever. It's going to look nice. All right. Sometimes if you don't cut it, like if I didn't cut it 10 by 10, some of the petals will be a little askew, which doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, because you'll have layers upon layers of leaves or petals that you only really see the edges from about here up anyways. So this is, I did 8 black on the outside. These are 16 tan. And then the next row I'm going to be doing 8 black. So these will be 8 black and then another 8 tan. So you can figure out how many pieces you need to cut depending on whatever color you are using. If you want to use all just one color, you have 40 sets of holes exactly. Now, that you need to do. When you're using a 10-inch roll, and I had mentioned about the 9-inch thing, if you're making one of these and you cut the mesh at 9 inches instead of 10, you only need 1 roll, because it will, well, it should give you 40 pieces. Now, I say that hesitantly because sometimes we get mesh, and normally they're 10 yards, but sometimes you get that odd roll of mesh that's not quite 10 yards, and it's like maybe 9.25 yards or something, not enough to make a petal. So it's only happened to me twice, and what I did is I just skipped a petal, like I would skip this petal and this petal because I didn't have enough, and you couldn't even tell. So we're crafters, we improvise when things like that happen, and you just don't tell your customer, they'll never know. But yeah, there's all kinds of things with crafting, even like when you're using ribbons, you know, you can see, you know, you'll be making a bow, and then all of a sudden you have a seam right in the middle of your ribbon, which will totally just throws off your whole bow. I really hate when that happens. But with the mesh, if you really only have 1 roll, make sure you do it at 9 inches. If you have 2 rolls handy, you can still do it at 9 inches, but at least if you don't have enough, you can open another roll. Now, a lot of people do this type of flower with poly burlap, which is a huge rage now. And poly burlap is very thick, very, very thick plastic. And it definitely, when you're using it, you do have to heat seal it. So you'll see a lot of people heat sealing with the, you know, the tool, the heat knife and stuff like that, or bag sealer, because it ravels and frays like crazy. And it, like I said, it is really thick. It makes a beautiful flower, but you have to heat seal it, and it's more expensive. So if you can find and do a flower that you really like with deco mesh, that flower will probably be cheaper for your customer to purchase, because it's only, you know, that mesh would only be half the price as a poly burlap is. But poly burlap does, when it's used properly, it does make a beautiful flower. I'm not a big fan of it, but I have to say it does work nice. Now, if I have to cut poly burlap, I try and do it outside. I do anything, anytime I'm heat sealing. If you don't do it outside, I wear a respirator. And if you don't have a respirator, please make sure at least your windows are open and you got some ventilation going through, because you are burning plastic. And plastic is quite toxic. So you don't want to be breathing that in. So the best place to do it is outside on your table. But I do have my respirator. Like today, it's pouring rain out, so I couldn't sit outside. Now, like I said, there's many, many different ways to do these petals. but this is the more easier way, because once you've done a few, you pretty much can't screw it up because the whole wreath is done like this. There we go. Okay, we have 2 more of these to do. So like I said, if you pre-do your petals, you can see how fast you can make a flower. If you just already have them elastic, then you just stick it right in. So you just want to make sure your petals nice and flat and not all caught on the next petal beside it. Now I do these on my lap all the time. I do them in the car. I do them pretty much everywhere. Not so much anymore, but I used to, you know, road trips. I could do at least 3 flowers on a 3-hour road trip, no problem. But I would just pre-cut my mesh, and then I would just sit with my little pink thing on my lap and fold petals, stick them in, and kind of use the board as a table as well on my lap. Okay, so we got that one done. Now we're back onto black again. So you can see it's just framing the outside. So you could use green or however, whatever you want. This is brown. I'm colorblind. I thought it was a black stripe, but it looks like it's brown now that it's in the light. That's okay. It'll still look fabulous. A lot of people now, pardon me, a lot of people now actually use the check mesh as well to do another layer. So they would, this row that I'm doing right now, they may do like a black and tan window pane mesh on this row. It just gives it a different look. I'm keeping it simple. And if you get a good deco mesh, it's just as good as poly burlap, I find. Poly burlap really doesn't have any sparkle, so if you like it sparkly, like so when the sun hits it, it all sparkles, then deco mesh is what you want. I am all about the glitter and sparkle, so I happen to love using deco mesh, which is good because I'm cheap and I like to use less expensive material. And then if I sold this, I wouldn't have to charge as much either because the mesh wasn't as much, or your supplies isn't as much. So now we got 8 of these. So as you can see before, remember I told you just see pretty much from here up, because as we layer, you're just seeing kind of the tip there. Now this is going to be pretty big, but when I take a picture of it on the front door, it's actually the perfect size. I have done one on a small 10-inch wire frame, and it was small. It didn't look that small when I was making it or in the picture after I took it, but when I put it on the door, it's like, oh, I like that kind of in-your-face wreath. I guess it's Texas size flower wreath. But as you can see too, for shipping these, they're not high. So you can ship it in a 4-inch box, the height. Now this particular one looks to be about 28 inches in diameter. But if you flip it over, the actual frame itself is only 15.5 inches, almost 16. So you could possibly, if you wanted to, you could get a 20-inch by 20-inch box, put your wreath in, and make sure these petals are all facing upwards and they're not cut underneath. Okay, so you put it in the box and just straight down and make sure these were all up. Okay, and then when the customer, which is a good thing, because when the customer takes it out of the box, they'll pull it out of the box, and these will flap down, and they'll actually be flattened. You know, I said I would go around and I put books to make sure these are laid out nice and flat. Well, if you ship it in a box and you have to kind of do the edges of the flower upwards, you can see it flattens the mesh anyways. So it's really easy to ship these, and it's very inexpensive to ship them, because once you go past 20 by 20 by 4, you're getting into a lot higher shipping rates. So we found the magic number for shipping completed wreaths that there is not like atrocious amount. We're talking maybe $9–10 to ship it, is the Unique and Creek wreaths. Not that I ship a lot of them, but you know, I did an auction and we shipped a whole bunch, and they got there just fine. You can make a little instruction sheet if you want. Now, you may not want your customer to have to do anything. Well, literally with this one, they really don't have to do anything. Just be careful how they pull it out. But you can put a little instruction sheet if you want to save a little bit of shipping for them on how to flip it out and stuff like that. It's your business. You totally do what you want. I just like to give a few little options that you can do. And the rose, the same with the rose. If you're putting green leaves on the rose, outside the rose, you make sure when you put your wreath frame in, that the green leaves are going up the side of the box. So when they pull the rose out, the green leaves just go back flat. So again, I'm going to reiterate, if you're making this for a customer and you don't feel comfortable with just zip ties, hit it with a little bit of glue, and it's not going anywhere. There is another way. I've watched Michelle do it. She folds, Michelle from Monkey's Creation, she folds the corner in like this, and then goes up to the corner. And then if you fold that in, you're sure to have all your edges going down the proper way. But once you do a few of these, you'll get your own style, your own knack. I just show, you know, basic things to get people's creativity flowing. So I know you guys are probably watching this right now thinking, oh my gosh, I can make, you know, burgundy mums and all kinds of fun flowers. Last year I did a whole flower wall on the back end of my pool. So I made a whole bunch of these wreaths because this deco mesh is water resistant, and so is the poly jute, and so is the board, and so are the zip ties. The only thing that you do need to do is spray your wreaths with a UV protectant, so to prevent fading, because the sun will fade your colors. Now, they don't fade it as fast as if you were using like a lower, cheaper value mesh, but it will fade them. And I have a spray here. I'll show you guys what I use in just a little bit. Okay, so now we are in row 4, and I got it as tan color. So we are almost at the finish line. That wasn't so bad. So all these sunflower people, they're all using all yellow and doing brown centers. A lot of people do the brown pom-poms like I did. And they're doing, and they're using poly burlap. So that is why poly burlap is very hard to find, because a lot of people are making flowers with them. So right now, the fall color of poly burlaps you can get pretty readily. It's pretty readily available right now. But come September, you're going to have the whole white and yellow crisis where everybody's run out. Now, I do believe the suppliers realize how many people are making flower wreaths now. So I'm sure they've upped their supply, but if you want to make some for fall, I really suggest you get your fall poly burlap like now, because soon it will be sold out everywhere, and then people will be selling it on Etsy for atrocious amounts of money, and people pay it. I guess if you're desperate, you need it. So, I like poly jute. I love it. It's soft, and as long as you heat seal it, it doesn't fray. And I have all colors, all kinds of colors of poly jute. I actually have these on my website right now, these colors I'm using. But I also have like red and tan, an orange and tan. So what you could do with those, with the poly jute, is just do a layer of just the, because you can buy mesh, poly jute mesh with nothing. It's just completely natural. So you could do a row of just natural with, you know, the red and natural poly jute, or the orange and natural. It's really pretty. It's simple. I like simple things. You think it would be opposite because I love bling and I love jewelry and everything, but for decorating and stuff, I'm a very simple person. I try not to have clutter, but always seem to have clutter when you're a crafter. We're almost done. So after you've done a few of these, it's very monotonous. So that's why I say this is one of the easier flowers to do. Okay, 3 more. And then we will work on our center. Like I said, I'm going to show you guys 2 different centers that you can use. One is right on the board, and another one is, well, I'm using the bikini coconut top, and I'll show you guys again. You can also use a styrofoam, half a styrofoam ball if you want. 5.5 inches is probably good. And did you know what, if you're using needle nose pliers, that there is a wire cutter on your pliers, but you have to cut it. You have to go down really far. I like these ones that goes right to the head. Not that anybody sees it, but. All right, 2 more of these and we are done. So again, I'm using a poly jute with a metallic stripe in it, and I'm also using a wide foil deco mesh. If you look for the word wide foil, that is good quality mesh. That's the only kind I purchase and buy for my customers. It's very good quality, and it gives good coverage. And it's sparkly. All right, last one. Last one. So that wasn't so hard. Oh, I guess I shouldn't pull so hard either. Now I'm going to flip the back over so you can see how nice and neat it is. So there's no messy pipe cleaners. There's nothing sharp on the back. There's nothing that you need to cover up. There we go. Okay. Let's fix these. Now I'm going to flip this over, and I just want to show you guys the back. And this is how you can tell as well if you're missing any petals. Okay, so when we flip this over, you're going to look to make sure each set of hole has a zip tie, which we do. Now you can go around and just pull these just like this, and if it doesn't come out, it's zipped up and has a petal. If you've missed it, but the zip tie's there, when you pull this, it will come right out. All right, so this is the back of the board. So it's got our logo, our website, made in Canada, patent pending. Now, what I tell people when you're making wreaths, especially if you're doing it at a craft show or any kind of place where you really are not known, make yourself some stickers, even if it's just little address labels that you throw through your at-home printer, and put a little sticker just down here on what the company name is and where they could buy another wreath. Okay, because 9 times out of 10 their friend will come over, see their beautiful wreath on the door, and want one. And normally the answer is, well, I got it at a craft show and I really don't know what the lady's name was. So if you do put some kind of sticker on the back, they can just flip it over and say, okay, that's their information, just contact them and they'll make you one as well. And usually if they buy one, they want another one for the next season too. So it's a good idea to put a sticker. You can make a fancy sticker, or like I said, even an address label, something, even tape a business card. More than likely, if they don't have it on a glass door, they're not going to take it off. So hopefully they won't take it off. Okay, so this is our big flower. It's about 28 inches, just like I like it. Nice and big. Okay, so at the beginning I did show you this really fun. Now I think this might be the one I am going to actually use for the end of my center that I'm going to be using for this flower. And all I did was I got my Pom-Poms. These are 1-inch Pom-Poms. You can get them from any craft store or even the dollar store, I'm not sure, but you want one color. I usually buy black, yellow, and brown. So when they're on sale, I buy a whole bunch of them. They're normally $1.99, and I usually get them with the 50% off coupon, or they're on sale for 40% off or 50% off. So these ones are 1 inch that I'm using, and they're actually glitter pom-poms, which are really fun. So they got little spiky things on them that are sparkly and glittery. So I am going to, all I did was I started in the center. Now, normally when if you use styrofoam, like a white half styrofoam, you will want to paint your styrofoam the color that you're using on the pom-poms. And I say that because if you don't, if there's spaces like you can stick your finger down here, you may see white show through your pom-pom, and you don't want that. And you also don't want to squish all your pom-poms together just to get the proper coverage. So if you just paint it with just a craft paint from the dollar store, like if I've made a white one, I paint this white just with a craft paint. So I do use these for my angel faces, and I'll paint it white first, even though I'm using felt to cover the face, just so the brown doesn't show through. But when you're using a dark pom-pom, you don't have to do anything. So you start in the center, and then you just kind of keep working your way around. So I'll just keep going. So I put a dab of glue and a pom-pom. I'm putting like a string of them, string of glue there, and put a few pom-poms at the same time. hold it a little bit so it grips. But it's very, very easy, and it's cute. Now you may want to seal this with like an outdoors Krylon spray if it's going to be outdoors. But if it's just hanging on your front door, you know, you wouldn't need to spray it. Although I shouldn't say that, because you should be spraying everybody should be spraying their wreaths, especially if they're selling them. Last thing you need is somebody messaging you that their pom-poms fell off or their pom-poms are moldy or they faded. And I use Gorilla Glue sticks. I like my shirt. It's a very fine tip glue gun. I've had it for many, many, many years. And I have all kinds of glue guns, and I still keep going back to that one. But it doesn't get too hot. And the Gorilla Glue sticks I swear by. So to do this one, you need 2 packs of these pom-poms. So pretty easy, eh? And it's plastic, so it's durable. So I've bought the bikini tops pretty much from all over Hamilton, my area, because I use them for angel faces as well. I still have one more bag somewhere floating around, but I'll fix that later. So you're going to use 2 full bags. I do have another bag, a quarter of a bag somewhere around here that I will get, and I'll just fill in these little blank spots here. Okay, but you got the gist of how you make it. Back on there. I got glue on there. Try not to get the glue. If you do get glue all over your pom-poms, just heat it up with a blow dryer, and it'll melt the glue again, and you can pull them off. Or you can just try and pull them off, or just cut it off. But this is a really neat looking center with these pom-poms. Okay, so I'm just going to put that to the side. Now, this might be the one I do use. I'm going to show you how to do one with burlap for the center. Really, really easily. You don't have to pull strings and stuff. There's all kinds of ways. You can YouTube, I don't know, hundreds of ways to do flower centers. I've done all kinds. This flower center I'm going to show you right now, if I can get the tape off, is very easy. I like to do this with burlap. And this is a 6-inch burlap, I believe. It's very stiff though. Okay. So I'm just going to put my ginormous flower to the side. And this is just a 6-inch burlap. I'm just going to make sure that it's 6 inches. Yeah, 6-inch burlap. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it at about 30 inches long. Now, you can play around with the length of this when you are making yours. Like I said, this burlap I'm using right now is really stiff and coarse. It's not really soft at all. Now, the more you manage it, the more it will soften up. But for right now, it's not very soft at all. Okay, so I'm going to cut 4 of these. Now, 30 inches is a bit long. I might be able to use shorter if I wasn't using such a stiff one, but. And you can do this method as well with pieces of Olifun or even 6-inch deco mesh. If if you want to keep your whole thing completely waterproof, or water resistant, I should say, you could get 6-inch, just normal deco mesh like this, in any color, I guess, and do the same method that I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so we got 4 pieces of this burlap. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a zip tie and I'm going to preload this zip tie, but I'm going to keep the zip ties open. Okay, so I'm not going to close this zip tie. I'm going to keep it open like that, but it's in there so that when I'm ready to put my burlap in there, I don't have to fool around and let the burlap go to get my pipe cleaner in there. Sorry, got a good glass of water here. Pardon me. Okay, so you got your zip tie preloaded in here. What you're going to do is you're going to take this 30-inch piece of burlap. Now, hopefully it's not too long because, like I said, it's so stiff. You're going to scrunch down the middle, and this is really stiff. Now, hopefully while I scrunch, it will loosen up a bit. I like this stiff burlap for my horses, and this is the only roll I had left down in my stash. But if you use the more looser, like from Hobby Lobby or Michael's or something, you'll probably get a better result. Yeah, mine's really, really stiff. Okay, so you're going to make something like this. Okay, and don't let it go. I'm going to try and loosen this a bit. Okay, because we're going to now take this and you're going to, you know what, I might use a black zip tie. Do I have a, I don't have an 18-pound. Oh, yes, I do. Look at that. I'm going to use an 18-pound black zip tie. Here's where I said, make sure you preload, because now I have to try and hold on to my burlap and put the pipe cleaner in at the same time. Okay. Now you want your cut end that you cut, you want that facing down towards the board. You don't want it sticking up. And you're going to put this right in the center of your zip tie and zip this up. I'm hoping this will work because this is, you can see it's so stiff. And normally this will come up like this. Oh, there it goes. The next piece I'm going to try and loosen up first. Let's try that again. Dave, if you're watching, can you go down into the closet downstairs? And on the top shelf to the left, there's a roll of just natural colored burlap. It's not as stiff as this stuff. So I'm going to loosen this up. It has some kind of like a coating on it, which is fantastic for the horse. Not so much for the center of your flower. It's the only black I had, so we'll work with it. Okay, we're getting a little bit softer now. A little more pliable. Roll it. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so you're just going to scrunch down in the middle. Oh, I didn't preload. Didn't preload the zip tie. I'm going to try zipping this first. And then fluffing it. Actually, I'll use the black one. I'm putting a zip tie through it first. I'll pull this tight, and I'll be able to manipulate it a little bit better. There we go, that's better. Now when you use non-stiff burlap, that's what you pretty much get. Okay, now I'm going to take a zip tie and go through the back of it. Now you can do this right on the board. That's what I was trying to show you, but my burlap was not having it because it's too stiff. And not tighten this too tight. Too tight. Let's try it again. Okay, now we'll put. Now when you do this, make sure your zip tie flat head is facing up towards the ceiling, so when you go to zip tie this on the board, you don't have to remove it again. Okay, there we go. Much better. You're kind of making like almost like a pom-pom formation. Do you see how I did that? And like I said, when you don't have such stiff burlap, that's much, much better than what I had. So now you're going to take that. I'm actually going to take this one off. So it's very easy. If you make a mistake, you just clip the zip tie. Okay, now I'm going to take these two, and I'm just going to go down one hole, down the other hole, flip it over, and zip that up. Now you can pull that head to the hole there, so it's nothing scratching the door. Okay, so there's one. So we need to do 3 more. So this will start getting quite full upon itself. So let's do that one again, like I did it the first time. So let's loosen this up. Definitely got some kind of stiffener on it. But you could cut a long piece of material, or Olifun, which is, Olifun is an outdoor material. It's a lot of it times it's used for outdoor furniture and stuff like that. But you can buy it in the craft stores, and it is water resistant as well. So you can get a, cut a piece of Olifun and do it for your center as well. So we're going to get an 18-pound black one again. There we go. Have one of these white ones on hand. And I'm going to start again scrunching up the middle. Now it's almost the same if you've watched a YouTube video where you pull the center string out. I have done that a few times. I don't know if you've ever tried that kind of center, but always when I do it, I don't know why, the string breaks, and then I lose that, and then I have to go back and try and find another piece, another string to pull that's near the center. So I just figured doing it this way is just so much easier, and then there's no fraying. And again, if you're using like a really loose and nice soft burlap, you don't have to put this zip tie in. You can just scrunch it up and zip tie it right to the board. You preload your zip tie in there. Okay. But it does make a really cool, like little pom-pom thing. Now you're going to take that and put it in the next one beside it. Now the fuller center you want, the more burlap you would use. So instead of 30 inches, you could do 36 inches. It'll just give it a bigger poof. But I find you can see there's half of it done already. You can see 30 inches just fine, even with this burlap. Pull it over, pop it right in the hole. There we go. So we got 2 more to do. But look already how nice that center is. Actually, maybe I will keep it like this. It's very pretty. But it's much, much easier to do than pulling strings and all that stuff. So this, and so with this roll of 6-inch burlap, I could probably do 3 flowers. Maybe 2. Maybe 2. And there was no, I didn't have a sticker on it, so I don't know what the size was. I think they're 5 yards. But they sell all kinds of color of burlap now. Okay, so I'll loosen this up and we'll go down the center again. Okay. You can hear how stiff this stuff is. So before you let go, make sure you got your zip tie around the center and at least do it up a little bit. And then you can put this one through and then you can fluff it. Fluff away. And like I said, you want it bigger, all you have to do is cut your burlap a little bit bigger. But we're going to have four of these pom-pom looking things for our center. So I'm going to push this back and I'm going in. You can see we have 2 holes still to do. So if you're teaching sunflower classes, get them to give them some 6-inch burlap or mesh or something, and they can make the center right on the board, so it's less work for you to do. It's again, and it makes a really pretty sunflower center or flower center. And of course I did this upside down. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, flip it over. As you're tightening, pop it into the hole and snip off the tail. So we have nothing sharp. I still have my pipe cleaner there, so that's the top. And I have one more, even though this is really full already, one more burlap poof to make. I'm just trying to get some of the sizing. Sizing is like a fabric stiffener that's obviously used on this. Just loosen it up a bit. All right, and again, just right up the center, get an 18-inch zip tie and another one. You can use clear, you can't see these zip ties whatsoever. I just happen to have black, so I thought I might as well just use them. Okay, get your zip tie around. Okay, put that one under and pull tight. All right, last one. So you're going to take your zip ties that you did at the bottom. Again, if you're using soft burlap, you do not have to do this. You can do it right on the board. I have these two holes right here that I have to put in this. You just feed them down through. When it's upside down, it's a little harder to do. Come on, I'm still here. My hands are slippery. There we go. Okay, and your wreath is completed. Now you might want to move your ruffles around and pull them, make sure they're all up so you can see the pretty center. But that is how you do the burlap ruffle center on the Unique and the Creep board. So you have this gorgeous, I guess I can take this pipe cleaner off now. I know where my center is. I'm just going to bring this up. Okay, so this is our fall, I guess it would be an everyday flower, but you can use different color combinations. You can do whatever you like. You can, your imagination, let it run wild. So you can do a center right on your board, or you can do a prefab center like I did with Pom-Poms, which would sit just like that. So you could zip tie. There's a hole here and a hole here on these things, and you can just zip tie it right to the board. When I do use these pre-made circles, I do use these 4 holes. And what I would do is actually put this color jute black in these 4 holes, just so you don't see any of the board when you put your pre-made center on. So this will be actually sitting on the mesh. And I did so much work on this, I really don't want to take it out. Okay, so there's different ways. You could even do this same style that I just showed you with deco tubing. So you wrap it and wrap it and wrap it, and then in the center, fold it up, zip tie it onto the board, and you can make all kinds of loopy loops with the deco tubing right on the board. And deco tubing, again, is water resistant, weather resistant. Okay, now you'd want to spray. You don't want this to fade. You'd want to spray your wreath, and you'll want to, if you're wanting just UV protection, you would just spray it with this UV protectant sun guard. You can pretty much buy this at any hardware store. Amazon sells it. I got this one at Hobby Lobby. And you would spray this literally all over your wreath. Do it outside. It is very stinky. But it is used for plastics, for fabric. So it's a lot of the outdoor fabric furniture and stuff. It will prevent your mesh from fading really fast. They do have another one like this with a blue lid, and it is a UV protectant and a fabric sealer. So I would want, I don't particularly have that blue one, which I'm going to get, because I would spray this whole thing and the center with the sealant and UV spray. Krylon makes one as well. There's all kinds that have them. Make sure it says clear, non-yellowing. And if you're doing a wreath with sparkle in it, don't get the matte, because there's matte and gloss sprays. You want to get the gloss, because if you get the matte, it's going to dull your metallic lines in your wreath. Okay, so you want to keep it sparkly, and that's all. So that is the Unique in the Creek sunflower, mum, whatever flower you want to make it, or whatever flower you want to call it, with our center done right on the board. Thank you for joining me this afternoon, and I hope you got learned something a little from this tutorial. And if there's any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. You can find our boards at uniqueinthecreek.com and .ca. You can find them on Amazon.com. They're all on there. You can get them at Craft Outlet online, so it's craftoutlet.com, trendytree.com, watermansloft.com, and soon in stores at Michael's. So Michael's will have it in store and online, our boards. Okay, thanks again for joining me, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye all.